I assume you guys want to go right into the daily press briefing? Okay, great. Just a couple of things at the top. Unfortunately, I don't have any new facilities to announce for Buffalo today, but as you know, the Secretary is hosting the U.S. Northern Ireland Economic Conference here at the State Department today. The United States has long supported the peace process in Northern Ireland, and the Secretary herself has been personally involved in it since her time as First Lady. The support of the governments of Ireland and the United Kingdom has been essential to the success of the peace process in Northern Ireland. Irish Minister of State Peter Power and UK Secretary of State for Northern Ireland Owen Paterson are both here representing their governments, and the Secretary will discuss key issues with both of them during the day. People of Northern Ireland have made significant progress on the peace process, and this conference will further that progress by bringing together American business leaders with Northern Ireland government officials to encourage increased economic activities to the benefit of both countries, or to the benefit of both Northern Ireland and the United States, rather. Special envoy, economic envoy to Northern Ireland, Declan Kelly, will be giving a readout of the conference via telephone later today, I believe at 5:20. Is that right? Great. Very briefly, on the attack on the Chechen parliament today, the U.S. government offers its deepest condolences to the victims. We also express our solidarity with Russia in the struggle against terrorism. We're concerned about continued violence in Russia's North Caucasus, which contributes to instability and personal insecurity in the region. Several independent non-governmental reports confirm that the level of violence has increased in 2010 in several North Caucasus regions, and we've been following these events closely. That's all I have. I'll take your questions.
There's
on that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Very quickly,
yeah.
Are you in touch with the Russian government on that? Have you been talking someone at this building with the Russians?
Have we been talking with the Russian governments about our concerns in North Caucasus security?
Yeah, and the latest attack in.
I believe we have conveyed our condolences to the Russian government. I'm not sure that's been here in Moscow.
Thank you.
have you heard anything from the Swiss or the families of the two remaining hikers about a trial date being set for them?
Matt, I've not. I'll have to check on that and get back to you.
Do you have any comments on the reports that they plan to put them on trial on November 6th?
Well, I mean, our position's obviously well known on this matter. We believe that they've done nothing wrong and that they should be released immediately. Go ahead in the back.
Question about Russian officials' position. Mr. Nestorenko from Foreign Ministry of Russia mentioned today that by withdrawing of Russian troops from Georgian village Perevi, Russia fulfilled
from
Georgian village Perevi, South Ossetia. So Russia fulfilled the agreement, Medvedev-Sarkozy agreement, and completed to fulfill. While Georgian foreign minister said that pull-out from Perevi by Russian security forces is just a minuscule step and call upon Russia to further implement the six-point agreement. Do you have any comment about that?
I've seen the press reports, and it was unclear from what I saw whether the withdrawal had been complete and at what stage it was at. Look, there are EU monitoring groups on the ground, and that's their role to look at this, to judge it, and to see if it in fact indicates that Russia is complying to the agreement that it signed with the Georgian president to end the conflict there. And it also speaks to, obviously, we want to see a greater presence on the ground, the return of OSCE monitors, for example, in order to create safeguards on the ground that can help both monitor these kinds of developments and generally reduce tension.
And a very brief question about Obama's administration position to return the Russian forces in the position they were before.
The status quo ante, yes, prior to July of 2008, is that correct?
In August.
August, thank you.
The NATO Afghanistan meetings, Iran has been invited. How do you separate the unhelpful role that they play in that region from joining this conference and participating?
You're talking
in
about
NATO
the Rome
talks?
conference?
Yes, the Rome conference.
Okay. Well, you know, there's been some comments today about the Rome conference, but in general, you know, I believe Holbrooke, and I'm paraphrasing here, Ambassador Holbrooke said that, you know, their presence there gives the lie to the belief that there's some kind of clash of civilizations. This was a conference that brought in people from throughout the region, or countries from governments from throughout the region, who are all all of whom want to see a stable, prosperous Afghanistan emerge. And frankly, it speaks to the benefit that a stable, prosperous Afghanistan could have on the region, the impact.
Do you think they're joining these talks because we've announced their withdrawal date of July 2011?
I believe they join these talks because they feel that it's in their interest. I mean, I don't want to speak on behalf of the Iranian government. You'll have to ask them. But clearly, as neighbors of Afghanistan, they have an interest in seeing a stable, prosperous, peaceful Afghanistan emerge.
I could follow up on the Iranian delegation called for a holistic approach to Afghanistan, and they cited military, political, and development issues. Can you read anything into that? What do you mean?
That to me speaks of exactly what's going on in the ground. We've said many, many times, both from this podium, from NATO, from on the ground in Kabul, that military force alone will not win the day, will not win this conflict, and will not end this conflict. That it's going to require a strong, holistic approach, a civilian effort as well, development on the ground to extend the governance of Afghan authority, and to lead to economic prosperity. I mean, that is the long-term goal here.
Would there be a call to decrease Iran's role in aiding the Taliban and meddling in Afghanistan's elections as well at these talks?
I can't speak to what the conversations are on the ground. I haven't been updated. I mean, I know we've expressed our concerns in the past. Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Matt.
Do you agree with Ambassador Holbrooke's characterization that this gives the lie to the?
I'm paraphrasing there.
But that's essentially what he said. Do you agree with that? And if so, can you explain it? Because I don't understand how this gives a lie to the myth, or gives a lie to the idea of a clash between civilizations.
The
Iranians can take part in a conference and have diametrically opposed goals. Just because they're sitting at the table doesn't mean they agree. I mean, right?
Right. I'm not going to stand up here and say that it shows that they agree 100% with what we're doing in Afghanistan, what the international community is doing with Afghanistan. But what I think it does point to is that there is a shared desire to see a stable Afghanistan in the future, and as much as we can encourage that kind of dialogue, and not just with Iran, but other countries who border Afghanistan and the OIC in general, then that's a good thing.
Secretary Steinberg is going to talk about at the White House regarding yesterday's meeting with Daniel Ayalon.
The first part of the question again?
What are the main things that Steinberg is going to talk about in regards with yesterday's meeting with Ayalon?
I think we talked about this yesterday. It's a bilateral discussion with Israel. You know, the focus is obviously on, does touch on regional concerns, and we issued a statement, I believe, yesterday that went into more detail about the topic of discussions. Go ahead. Yeah.
Do you have a reaction to Iran's taking over the OPEC organization? Yesterday, you said you will have a readout.
Yes, I'm aware that we did say that. Look, we're not a member of OPEC, so you know, it's difficult for us to comment on their leadership. And you know, to the larger issue, our concerns about Iran are well known. I mean,
you're not a member of OPEC, so it's OPEC, so you don't think that you should have. I mean, you're not a member of a lot of things that you have opinions about. For instance, you're not a member of the EU, and yet you're constantly harping on them to let the Turks in.
I don't believe we harp on them to let the Turks in. We do have a position about the Turks, but we often say in discussing that we are not a member of the EU. Therefore,
Exactly, so, but you have a position on its membership.
look, this is an internal matter for OPEC. As I said, our position, and I don't think you want me to detail it on Iran and our concerns about Iran and its.
So your
its
your concerns about Iran do not extend at all to what they might do as the head of OPEC?
Well, it's an organization.
I think we all know what it is. Can you
Obviously,
check with
with
EB
other
again to see if
participants-
they're serious, that they don't want to have any opinion about this, Mark? Because seriously, I mean, if you guys have no concern about Iran, who you accuse of trying to develop nuclear weapons, being the head of a cartel that basically controls the world's oil flow, then that raises serious questions about the administration and its positions on how
Your point's taken, Matt, but
on energy security at the very least.
obviously energy security is a priority for this administration. Obviously, we're concerned about Iran's nuclear ambitions and its failure to come clean with the international community in a clear and transparent manner, so that we can address those concerns in a productive, constructive way. Really, we could say that we're looking, we would look for the other members of OPEC to remind Iran that it could play a more constructive role in the region. And certainly that's probably going to be a topic of our discussions bilaterally with individual members of OPEC. We say that frequently as well.
Don't the questions and answers here today about Iran give the lie to U.S. claims that it's isolated? I mean, they're present at the Rome conference. They're going to head OPEC. They are dealing with Venezuela and Brazil. They just had Ahmadinejad well received in South Lebanon. So how can you say Iran is isolated?
Well, first of all, 1929 and the sanctions that it brought to bear on Iran are targeted towards the entities within Iran that we feel are of most concern. We also, we've often said that Iran has a clear choice. It can engage and work productively with the international community, or it can seek greater isolation. Its actions regarding its nuclear program, its support for terrorist groups have isolated it internationally. And we're going to keep the pressure to bear on it on those fronts. That said, we also recognize that Iran could possibly play a constructive role vis-a-vis Afghanistan. Yeah, go ahead.
Can we go back to the Israel dialogue yesterday? Sorry, I was just wondering, we saw your statement last night, but could you tell us, was the peace process touched on at all in those discussions? And I mean, presumably that's a fairly major issue in the bilateral relationship. And was there any discussion of when Senator Mitchell might make another trip?
I actually checked on Senator Mitchell. I don't believe he has any travel plans, at least nothing to announce. He remains, I believe, in New York. I don't know to what extent the peace process was discussed yesterday. It probably did come up, Andy, but I just don't know to what level it rose.
Iran gave yesterday its support to Iraqi Prime Minister Nouri Maliki to form the new government. And Iran's deputy foreign minister has said that al-Maliki was one of the suitable choices to lead the next Iraqi government. Do you share this assessment?
We've said as recently as yesterday that our policy towards Iraqi government formation is that we want them to move forward as quickly as possible to form an inclusive government. It's frankly an Iraqi process, and it needs to be an Iraqi-led process, and so we don't believe it's our place, nor is it the government of Iran's place to comment or in any way on that process. Our ultimate concern is that it be an inclusive government.
But do you think this statement will affect your position towards al-Maliki?
Again, I mean, I don't know how to state it in any other way. We've said all along we want to see an Iraqi-led process. We want to see it move ahead urgently. It's been 7 months now. And our fundamental concern here is that it be an inclusive process and an inclusive government. Go ahead, go ahead in the back.
The ISI or some members of the ISI are working with terrorist groups, whether it's the Al-Qaeda or the LET. So we're going to have, how do you have talks with a partnership with a partner where you feel some members of that government are working against your goals?
Well, these are allegations we've heard before. We believe the government of Pakistan has pledged its cooperation in bringing the perpetrators of the Mumbai attacks to justice. And we fully expect that these pledges of cooperation are going to be carried out. Pakistan has said it's committed to fighting terrorism, and it understands the urgency, and it's promised strong action against those responsible. Pakistan itself has been obviously greatly touched by extremist violence, and it is also in an existential struggle with these groups. So we believe Pakistan understands the threat and is committed to working cooperatively.
Just another question. President Obama's trip to India is coming up in 2 weeks. Secretary Clinton planning on going? Is dates otherwise filled up?
Nothing to announce at this time. Refer you to the White House on details of the president's trip. Go ahead, Courtney.
Early warnings about the Mumbai attack from several of the wives. Have you heard of any investigations being launched?
That's a fair question. You mean some sort of review or look at
the intelligence before?
I mean, what I can find or try to find out for you is whether there's some kind of review going on that I'm looking into. I'm not aware of it, and I'm not aware if there's a State Department specific review underway. I'll check on that.
Thanks.
In the back, Sean.
Hey, the Foreign Minister of Japan said that he's calling for more defense cooperation between the U.S. and Japan in light of North Korea's provocations and threats. Do you have a comment on that? Do you agree with that?
I mean, I refer you to the Department of Defense to discuss defense cooperation with Japan, but obviously we've got a broad, deep bilateral relationship with Japan and works constructively on so many fronts, including defense cooperation. But I'm just not aware of the comments, so.
So you want less cooperation with Japan?
Today said they are going to take action over sanctions on passenger planes' fuel.
The
Iranian
who?
foreign minister.
The Iranian
today,
foreign minister?
Yeah. Today said they're going to take action on sanctions over passenger planes' fuel. What's your comment on that?
On sanctions, I'm sorry, these are UN? I'm unaware of which sanctions are you talking about?
Yes, European sanctions, which have
the
some
EU
of the
sanctions?
Some of the firms are not, have stopped selling them fuel for the passenger planes.
And he said he's going to take action?
Yes, they said they're not going to keep quiet.
I'm not aware of I'm not aware of his comments. I don't know what that means, frankly. I would refer you to the Iranian government, but we've been quite clear that now is not the time for business as usual economically with Iran. We've got sanctions in place, and there's a clear path that Iran can take, beginning with High Representative Ashton's office, to move forward on this in a positive way. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I don't.
No, Michelle, sorry.
In UAE, the Federal Supreme Court has ruled that a man has the right to discipline his wife and children provided he does not leave physical marks. Do you have any reaction to this rule?
This is the UAE?
Yeah, the Federal Supreme Court in the United Arab Emirates.
One more time, Michelle?
Yeah, the Supreme Court has ruled that a man has the right to discipline his wife and children provided he does not leave physical marks.
You can use phone box.
Look, we have an ongoing dialogue with the UAE that includes our concerns about human rights, and I imagine this would be a part of that dialogue.
For a couple months now, both you and PJ have been telling us that you expect Victor Bout to be in the United States in a prison soon. How's that going?
Well, Matt, our position has not changed. We do look forward to having him.
His position has not changed either. He's still in Thailand, right?
In a U.S. court in the very near future. I don't have any updates.
In the very near future?
We all have definitions of near future, but we still are confident that Victor Bout will stand trial in the United States. Go ahead.
On Japan, can you confirm that the secretaries will have a meeting with the Japanese foreign minister when she is in the region in Hawaii on October 27th, when she is going to region?
I don't know what her schedule is. I can imagine it'll be a priority. But I have nothing to announce or confirm at this time. Okay, thanks, guys.